Namaste. This is Saroja Gullapali from Melbourne, Australia. First of all, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all my beloved viewers on PMC Global platform. I would like to express my gratitude to Pitamaha Brahmashri Patriji, Dena Merriam, and all the people who are watching me today on this platform. Today we are up to episode 12 of wisdom sharing of the book, The Untold Story of Sita. We have had amazing sessions, almost 11 episodes now. And today, before we start our 12th episode, I would like to request you to do meditation for 2 minutes. Kindly cross your feet, lock your fingers, place them in your lap, close your eyes, and be with your breath. Be with your breath, masters. Try to travel within with the help of your breath. I would like you to connect to your inner silence, to your inner stillness. As you connect to your consciousness, I'd like to request you to invite the energies of Sita Ma and the energies of Hanuman on this platform. Request you to rub both your palms together and place them on your closed eyes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Kindly remove your palms and open your eyes slowly. Thank you. So welcome to episode 12, my dear masters. In the last episode, towards the end, we talked about the upbringing of Lava and Kusha and how nicely Sita Mata, had a routine with the two boys. When they were around 6 years old, Mata taught them how to meditate. And so every night before they went to bed, Mata used to make them do meditation for some time. And then she would tell them a story. So it would be a story time before they went to bed. And towards the last episode, we heard the story that Sita Ma shared with Lava and Kusha. That was the story of Anasuya Ma and Atri Maharishi. And in the story, we heard how Mata Anasuya went to the celestial worlds and requested Mandakini river to come to the earth. And for Mandakini river to come to the earth, what kind of great penance Anasuya Mata had to do. So as we move forward, along with Soma, who's telling the story to Anasuya, the little Anasuya and her mother, and we are also listening to this great story of our Sita Ma through Soma. So the next night, again, when it was time for a bedtime story, the boys again asked Mata to tell the story of Anasuya and the Mandakini River again. This is how children are. They never get bored of the same story again and again. You might have experienced this yourself. We get bored of telling them the same story, but they do not. Similarly, Love and Kush asked Mata to tell the story of sage Anasuya and Mandakini River again. And Mata laughed and said, I told you the story last night. Today, I am going to tell you the story of Yogini, Arundhati, and Vasishta. So she asked them, do you remember meeting them both? And the boys shook their head, no. Then Mata said, when you were very little, both Arundhati Ma and Vasishta Maharshi had come to visit you. And then Mata says that they both are very wise and powerful rishis. And the greatness about Vasishta, the husband, was he had brought forth great mantras that could destroy or repel or oppose any weapon. And Mata, Arundhati, who was a great sage, she had the power of bounty. Bounty means the power of unlimitedness. So she had that gift of bounty, and Vasishta had the gift of bringing forth mantras that could repel any weapon. So these were their powers. So because of the gift of bounty Arundhati sage had, she could feed any number of people. She could feed like a big army or thousands of people because she had that gift. So one day, a Maharaja whose name was Kaushika, he heard about their powers, that they both, what the powers they had. And so once he came unannounced, because he wanted to test Arundhati Ma, because he had heard a lot that she had this power of bounty. And so he came unannounced. And he did not come alone. He came with his big army. So now Sage Arundhati did not get worried when she looked at them all. So she fed them all because she had the gift of bounty. And when the army was ready to leave, now Maharaja has seen for himself that yes, this woman has the gift of bounty. So he asked her for her secret. He said, how could you produce so much food, and that too without notice? You didn't have any time to prepare. And Sage Arundhati, she's very modest. She didn't say, look, I'm great, I had this power of bounty. She just said, it's all the blessings of the Lord. But some of the soldiers, they had heard that Rishi Vasishta had this sacred cow called Kamadhenu. And they just this is the rumors that they had heard, that this Kamadhenu could produce endless amount of milk. So they assumed that whatever plenty Arundhati Ma was able to create was because of this cow. So they went and told Vasishta. They went and told Kaushik king. So he asked Vasishta to gift him the cow, because now they're all thinking that gift of bounty that Arundhati Ma has is because of the cow. But Rishi Vasishta, he apologized and he said, I cannot give you Kamadhenu because Kamadhenu is very attached to Ma Arundhati. And Kamadhenu will not produce for anyone. She will only produce for my wife. And when he refused, that made Kaushik Maharaja very angry, because you know how kings are, they have a lot of pride, and no one had ever refused to give him anything he requested in the past. So he told the soldiers, go take the cow forcefully. Now, Sage Vasishta, he looked at his wife, and his wife knew what to do. So she went and stood in front of the cow, and she said, I beg you, Maharaja, do not separate the cow from me. Why? Because I'm like a mother to the cow, and it is great injustice to separate a child from her mother. And she said, you are a king. How can you go against the dharma? So she said, this cow is like a daughter to me. So if you have to take the cow, that means you are breaking dharma. So that's how she mentally, I wouldn't say blackmail, but she put the pressure on him that you are a king of great dharma, then do not try to separate a child from a mother. So this really agitated the Maharaja, and a great battle took place between Rishi Vasishta and Maharaja, because the wife was not allowing Kamadhenu to be taken. But to Maharaja's surprise, whatever weapon he used, Rishi Vashishta had so many mantras, he could use any mantras to repel the powerful weapons, and that made the king Kaushika all the more angrier. So he realized that Rishi Vashishta had so much power, none of his weapons could work. So then he realized that all the physical might he has is nothing in front of the power of tapasya, of penance. So what he did, he decided to abandon all his kingdom, all position, all wealth, and he engaged into deep meditation. Why? Not for liberation, not for mukti, but because he wanted powers. Who does it remind you of? There was another person who did exactly the same thing that we talked about a few episodes back. Ravana. Ravana also did great penance. Doesn't mean that all people who do great penance become great people. Why? Because there are two things. Sita Ma, and in various episodes we have learned that knowledge alone is not enough. Knowledge and wisdom has to come with love. These are two things. That unconditional love and knowledge has to go hand in hand. Otherwise, knowledge without love can be misused. And we saw in the case of Ravana, that's what Ravana did. He did penance, Lord Mahadeva, for so many decades. And he got powers. What did he do with those powers? He didn't use for the benefit of humanity or for benefit of others. He used it for his selfish motives. So here, the king Kaushika also did the same thing. He started doing meditation so that he could also get the great powers like Vasishta. And he did become a powerful sage because he did so many years of penance. So whoever does such great tapasya will get powers. But whatever he was doing, he could not match the powers of Rishi Vashishta. So that was making him very angry because he could never have more power than Vasishta. So when a person gets angry, what does he do? You know how he becomes like a child. He has to throw his frustration and anger in some other form if it's not being fulfilled in one form. That's what he did. So he went to Rishi Vashishta and Arundhati Ma, and he said, you refuse to give me your cow because you said you see the cow like a daughter. Okay, I won't touch your cow, but I curse you. See, he did meditation to so much level that, you know, he acquired the power of curse. Though he could not match Rishi Vashishta in his weapon repelling power, but he had done enough meditation. He had gained the power to curse. So what did he do? He cursed them both, saying, all your sons will die. Why? Because she did not let the cow to be taken. He said, okay, I won't touch your cow, but I'm cursing that all your sons will die. And all their sons died. So it was pretty sad for Sage Arundhati and Vasishta to see all their sons dying. But they were helpless because a sage curse cannot be revoked. We have seen this so many times, even in terms of Bhriga Maharshi. When he gave the curse, just by attachment to Usana, he was so attached to his wife Usana that when he realized that his wife has died, he didn't even think twice. He didn't even try to understand the circumstances under which Usana was killed or Usana's life was taken. He did not even bother to understand who took Usana's life. If only he had the patience to understand it was Sriman Narayana who took it, then he would ask the question. Sriman Narayana would not do. He's such an evolved soul. Why would such a great soul take another's life without any reason? But no, this is the problem when people are totally drowning in moha maya, desire, lust, anger. They can't think the big picture. And that's what Bhrig Maharshi also did. What he did? He cursed Sriman Narayana. But Sriman Narayana also said the same thing. A sage's curse cannot be revoked. Same thing happened here. Kaushika, the king Kaushika, he also had done a lot of penance. So they both, because they both are great sages, Arundhati and Vasishta, they know the rule that they cannot revoke sage's curse. So because Maharaja, the Kaushik Maharaja, could not defeat them, physically. So what he did? He stroked at their hearts, made them feel sad by killing their children, because physically he does not have the capacity to fight against Vasishta. But because he said it was sons, it killed his sons. But sage Arundhati and Vasishta, they had daughters too. Just not Kamadhenu, but they were other human daughters too. So the curse did not touch their daughters. And when their daughters came to know about the grief of their parents, they gathered around their parents, because they knew that parents were suffering because all the sons had died. And one of the daughters went to Mother Arundhati Ma and said, Ma, I'm pleading you that with you we'll create a world where there are no curses. Because she could feel the pain of her mother when all the sons died. She said, let's create a world, Ma, where there are no curses. No curses can touch there in that world. There will not be any senseless killings. Hence, there'll be no grief for parents. See how daughters were feeling for their mother. So they pledged that we will create a world which will be free of any curses, any senseless killings, and there will not be any grief for parents. And Sage Arundhati saw the hope in their daughter's eyes, that how much they wanted to help her. And she said, yes, that is what we will do. I will create such a world. And she asked her daughters to help her. Now, the daughters were very wise, and they were also accomplished in meditation. They're all great yogis. So with all her daughters by her side, so they all went into deep meditation for a long time with the intention of creating such an ideal world. In my last story about Anasuya, what did we talk about? Sankalpa Shakti, or intent, power of will. So how did Sage Anasuya create so much life in that desolated place? Just by sheer penance. And by sheer penance, what she did? She strengthened her willpower, strengthened her intention. And that's how, years of tapasya she did. And devas came to test her, but nobody could budge her from her tapasya. And in that tapasya, she made sure that all the trees got their life back and all the animals came back. And seeing that, then Mandakini river came back. And here again, the same thing. They all sat in meditation. And what were they doing in meditation? They were waking up, awakening their willpower. What is willpower? Sankalpa Shakti in Sanskrit, and which is called intention. So what was their intention this time? Sage Arundhati and their daughter had intention of creating an ideal world. And then Sita Ma is telling this story to both Love and Kush, and she asked them, what is the result of that? And she took them out. And in that star-lit sky, Mata showed them up. And she showed them that Arundhati star. And she said, she pointed to that star and she showed them that is the world that is created by Sage Arundhati and her daughters, to show the human world what is possible. And that's the world free of curses and grief. And then Mata showed the star next to Sage Arundhati, and she said, what is that star next to it? That was created by her husband, Rishi Vashishta. Why did he create that next to that? To protect that ideal world that his wife and daughters had created. And Mata said, look how bright the stars are, and they are glowing so well. And he said, look at that Rishi Vashishta's world. He stands there and he's always guarding the world created by his wife and daughter. Why? And that is the symbol of love. That is how much he loved his wife. So he's always there next to their world, protecting them. And Mata said, these two stars, they always remain close to each other, because that reminds us that, how much we need support and nurture from one another. And when you look at those two stars, that reminds us that the love and support both Sage Arundhati and Vasishta had between them. So then Mata says that Sage Arundhati's daughters now govern that world. So the world was created long time back, but the daughters are looking after that world, and it's a beautiful one. And Mata said, do you want me to take you there? And little children got a bit scared. How are we going to go to the stars? They said, no, we're happy staying here. But then they had a doubt. They asked, Ma, have you gone there really? And Mata said, yes, I have. It's a beautiful world. I wanted to say thank you and pay tribute to Sage Arundhati's daughters, because they're looking after that world after creating. They are so great that they have healed their parents with so much grief. So I wanted to go there and thank them. So I went there, and so then Love says, is that why you like cows so much? Because of that story, he asked. And then Mata said, yes, when I see the cow, I always think of Kamdenu and Arundhati Ma, how much love they had for each other. And so she says that if Kaushik Maharaja had Kamadhenu, he would have misused it, and the whole thing would have become such a misery. But Arundhati Ma, to protect Kamadhenu, who she looked after as her own daughter, had to sacrifice her sons who were so dear to her. See how much she sacrificed for the sake of a cow. But why? Because she was upholding her dharma, but at a great cost. See, these people are so great, my dear masters. For them, come what may, they never budge from the path of dharma. And that is the most important thing, my dear friends. What message we are getting here from this story is dharma. For staying on the path of dharma, she sacrificed her sons, but she would not give up her Kamadhenu, because she treated her like a daughter. She didn't say, oh, it's only a cow, it's not my daughter. No, that is the bond, and that's the dharma. So then she tells her children that you should look after all the female animals like your daughters. And then they said, yeah, all the male animals also like our son. So Mata is slowly teaching them, imbibing the value of looking after all the animals as your children, so that you still have that love for them. So then the children still have the question, okay, that is fine. A beautiful world was created by Arundhati Ma and her daughters. And Rishi Vashishta also created another world to look after that world. But what happened to that angry king, that wicked king, who was called as Kaushika, who cursed Sage Vasishta's sons? And then Mata tells them, yes, you call him wicked, but the story is not that bad. He became a great rishi. He kept doing penance. See, after he gave that curse for the sons to die, some point of time, the repentance starts. The word has gone out of the mouth. He cannot take it back, but the heart was feeling bad eventually. And so he kept doing penance to rectify what wrong he had done. Mata says, that King Kaushika, he did penance tapasya for a long time, and he's called now as Vishwamitra. So that is the story of sage Vishwamitra, who was a great king, but then this how he became a great sage too. And then Mata says, after many, many years of tapasya, he became a great, great rishi, and he was overcome by tremendous grief. That big, of course, because the more you keep doing meditation, you start going in, then you realize that how silly you have done. So then he realized that how much grief he brought upon those two sages because of his uncontrolled anger. And after doing long tapasya, then one day in tapasya, when he was in the celestial realms, he heard beautiful Gayatri mantra. He could hear, and from that celestial world, he brought the Gayatri mantra to this human realm, so that the Gayatri mantra was available for human ears. Many of us know Gayatri mantra, and it is considered as one of the very powerful and great mantras. So whenever you people chant Gayatri mantra or listen about it, remember that it was sage Vishwamitra, who heard this mantra first time in the celestial world in his meditation, and he's the one who brought these words into the human realm. So yes, he started off all bad, but the more deeper he went, the repentance started, then good things also came out of it. And this was the Gayatri mantra. So Rishi Vashishta, when one day he was in his meditation, when he heard the Gayatri mantra being chanted, and Gayatri mantra's vibrations were so beautiful, so he did not know who was chanting this, but what he said was, whoever it is, I really pay homage to the person who has brought this mantra. And the moment he said, Vishwamitra appeared before him, because he was the one who brought it. And then he got this opportunity to say sorry to Vashishta. His heart opened in forgiveness. But so he asked Vashishta and Arundhati Ma for forgiveness. And they forgave him because they had gone through the grief that they had to, and what good came out of it? This beautiful world that they had created. So what had to happen had happened. But these people are great sages, so they didn't hold anything against him. So the sage forgave Vishwamitra. But then when sage Arundhati, he was asking forgiveness to sage Arundhati, her heart is as big as the sky. She could not hold any anger against him. So she had forgiven him long back. And she said, look, see how nicely they are thinking. She says, look how much good has come because of this painful situation. Yeah, you have become a powerful force and you have brought this Gayatri mantra. And not only that, this has made my daughters and I to create a world free of suffering. That will set an example for human kind in the ages to come. So out of every curse, one thing we have to remember, there is some blessing that comes out of it. When Bhrigu Maharshi cursed Sriman Narayana, it was all turned into a boon for humanity. So when Mata and Sri Ram took the curse and they took this human form and they were completing the curse, it was all done for the benefit of the humanity. And that's what Sage Arundhati said. She did not remember anything bad out of it. She's only remembering what good came out of it. So Mata said, what is the moral of this story? And children said the moral of the story is that even a terrible deed can be forgiven. And not only that, so two things, you can forgive any terrible deed and also remember that good can come out of any terrible deed. So that is such an important lesson. So our hearts must be large enough to forgive even the worst of deeds. So Mata is saying, doesn't matter how bad the deeds are, we should have a big heart to forgive. But whoever does this, they should understand that they had done wrong. Only then is forgiveness possible. So you can forgive him, forgive the other person. But if the forgiveness has to complete, the other person also need to understand that he has done wrong. Otherwise, it will be complete only on your side. Like Sage Arundhati long time back had forgiven Vishwamitra. But the whole forgiveness cycle only completed when Vishwamitra realized and came to ask for forgiveness. So, and the children, if they were thinking about, Sage Arundhati's daughters, while Mata is telling story, they thought, oh my God, what a great thing they have done for their parents. So they said to their mother, we are very proud of Sage Arundhati's daughters because they have done so much to make their parents happy. But then they said to Sita Ma, but you don't have any daughters. If something happened to us, like, Sage Arundhati's sons were killed. So they're asking, if something happened to us, who would help you to get over your grief? They asked to Sita Ma. And then she smiled and said, you're right. I don't have any daughters, but I will have granddaughters. So she's saying, Lava Kusha, you will have daughters. And each of you will give me one. So she's saying, Lava, you will give me a daughter. And Kusha, you will give me a daughter. And nothing will happen to you. So the children were getting worried because we are sons. Somebody may curse us and we might die. So he said, nothing will happen to you. But of course, yes, I don't have daughters, but I'll have granddaughters. And then the children felt so happy with the story. And then they said, oh, we wish that there would be a world with no more curses. And then they went to sleep. So then Love, before Kush went to sleep, but Love still had a question, and he said, how did you get to that world? Because Mata said that she'd been to the world created by Arundhati and her daughters. So that question is still bugging him. That's how children are. They won't forget. Until you answer the question, they never go to sleep. So they asked, how did you get to that world? It's so far away. The star is so far away. Then Mata explained, while you sleep, I walk among the stars. So Mata is saying, this is what I do while you all are sleeping. What was Mata doing most of the time? Mata used to meditate in the night. That's what Soma told us so many times. That's why Soma used to keep the children with her when the children grew up a little bit, so that Mata slept very little. She used to meditate all the time in the night. So now Mata is saying, while you sleep, I walk among the stars, making sure that love and peace prevails everywhere. So they didn't understand, how can you walk on the stars? It's in the sky. So they said, there's no earth beneath you. How can you walk in the sky? And then Mata said, there are many ways of walking and many ways of traveling. This earth is not the only place in need. There is life all over the universe that needs care. So Mata is saying, slowly telling him or explaining them that, you don't have to physically walk to reach a place. And there are many ways we know astral traveling. And Mata is saying that this earth is not the only place that needs me, because there is life all over the universe. And hence Mata is saying that in night, I go to all those places which needs love and peace. So then the boys drifted off to sleep. And when Soma put the children to sleep and went out, Mata was sitting outside. And Mata says to Soma, I won't be in this world to see my granddaughters or even the wives of Love and Kusha. So Mata is saying, I won't be physically in my body. Even by the time Love and Kush get married, forget about the granddaughters. And she was staring at that Arundhati star. And then she says to Soma, I won't be there, but you will be there, Soma. You will see my granddaughters. You will know my granddaughters. And through you, I will have to hold my granddaughters. Through your arms, I will feel holding my granddaughters. And I will look at my granddaughters through your eyes. And she says to Soma, I will want them to have all the freedom I had in Mithila. Make sure that when my granddaughters are growing up, they get all the freedoms I had. And I won't be there, but you must see that it happens. So you must promise me that, Soma, Mata says. Now Soma is getting worried. Why is Mata saying this? That she won't be there and all that. And she says, why are you saying this? You're still young, Mata. Your health is good. And Mata did not respond to her question. But she made her promise. So Soma promises that yes, I will make sure. And then Mata said, you promise me, that is important. Finally, Soma said, Mata, whatever you ask, I will never say no. But please don't talk about leaving this world. I won't be able to bear that. Soma starts crying. It is so difficult to see, Mata going, why is she talking like that? And Soma says this was the first time this subject was ever brought between them. And which subject we are talking about? That Mata will not be there even till the children get married. Or this was the first indication that Mata would not be long with them. And that kind of discussion had never happened before. So some days later, Mata was again, when putting the children to bed, they were saying, the children are talking to each other and they're saying, our mother tells us such different stories from the ones that we hear in the hermitage, because they're going to school now in the ashram. They're saying, nobody tells stories like our mother. Our mother must be a great sage. And then they say, greater than our Guruji. And then the other boy, Love, is saying that, and then Kush says, oh yes, I think she's the greatest sage that ever lived, even greater than any rishis that we talk about. See, every child normally have such great opinion about their parents. No matter to the rest of the world, parent may be an ordinary person, but to a child, their mother is the greatest, their father is the hero. And in this case, of course, our Sita Ma is a great role model, but not only that, for any child, mother and father are their role models. So what a beautiful discussion going on between the two children. And one night, they asked Mata to tell the story of sage Ahilya and sage Gautama. See how great stories Mata used to tell them, so that there is lesson from there and children can become that. So they ask, how do you know about them? And Love and Kush says, we would love to hear the story of Lady Sage Ahalya and Sage Gautama, because somebody in the hermitage means their education ashram, they had told that Sage Gautama had cursed his wife because she was unfaithful to him, and that should be a lesson for all the women. And he is asking his mother, what does that mean? What is it? Well, why did he curse her? What does he mean that it was a lesson for all women? And hearing that, Mata was quiet, and Mata was feeling, oh, so this is the kind of things that children are listening to this discussion. And now Mata is thinking for a while that should I tell them or should I? And then she decided to tell them the story. So Mata says, I will tell you the whole thing, what happened. She said, when I was a little child, this is Mata telling, when I was a little child in Mithila, the son of Sage Gautama and Sage Ahalya, the son was our family priest. And Mata says, I was very fond of him, but there was a sadness about him, and we never knew why he was so sad. And whenever I asked that priest, who was the son of Sage Gautama and Ahalya, he replied that there was a family tragedy many years ago, and which had never been resolved. So Sita Ma went to Janak Baba, and Janak Baba said, we don't know, let's wait for the right moment, we might know. And nobody knew in Mithila what the tragedy was with the priest's family. Then Mata says, one day she met Sage Gautama. He was, there used to be a lot of sages who used to come to visit Janak Baba, as we, when we talked about how Sita Ma was growing up when she was young, we know how great sage Janak Baba was, and he always used to invite yogis, everyone, to his palace. And that's how Sita Ma met Sage Gautama one day. And she saw the same sadness in Sage Gautama as she was seeing in his son, the priest of this Mithila. So Sita Ma approached Sage, and he asked him, why you people are sad, what happened? And he replied that he had once committed a terrible deed, and he was suffering of the consequences. That's all he said. So Sita Ma went to Janak Maharaja and asked him that Sage Gautama is so wise, how can he commit such a terrible deed? And Janak Baba replied that nobody knows for sure what has happened to Sage Gautama, because he never talks about it to anybody. But he said that this is the story I have heard, that Sage Gautama, he's always talked about that he's the most wisest person, and his wife Ahilya for his beauty. So Sage Gautama was well known for his wisdom, and his wife for his beauty. And Janak Baba told Sita what he knew about their story, and he said, his wife's beauty was so great that even Indradev, who is Indradev, he's one of the chief among all the devas, he envied this couple, because what a great combination, husband is so wise and wife is so beautiful. So out of jealousy, so this is the story that Janak knew that he's sharing with his daughter, and Sita Ma is telling to her children. So out of jealousy, Indra came to Sage Ahilya one day when Sage Gautama was away. He came in the disguise of her husband. So Indra can change his physical appearance. So he was now looking like Gautama, and he came to his wife, Ahilya. He wanted to deceive her, so that she will think that her husband has come, and he wanted her to be unfaithful. So this is a story that Janak Baba is saying, and Janak Baba says that Sage Ahilya really thought he was her husband, and when Sage Gautama returned, he saw what had happened, because he saw how his wife was unfaithful to him, and she was with Indra. So he cursed her, and she became like a stone. And he said she remains like that stone even to this day. And this is what Janak Baba told the story. But then Mata said that this is the story that we had heard. But then Sita Ma said to the children, I will explain you what exactly happened. She said that I did not believe this, what my father told me about the story about Indradeva coming down and trying to deceive such a pure and knowledgeable woman as Sage Ahilya. So Sita Ma was crying about this and she said, I don't believe. And finally Sita Ma thought that I will approach Indradeva and ask myself this question. So the children asked, did you really see Indradeva? She said, yes, I went to Swargaloka. So that is where we say Indradeva is. So she's now telling children the story, how she met Indradeva. So she told, and Soma asked, you really went to Swargalok, Mata? She said, I did. This was before you arrived in the palace. So this is even before Soma's time in Mithila. This is, Mata was very young and that is when it happened. And she explains the children what happens. She said, I was in my dream. And in my dream, one night I found myself in Swargaloka and I was standing before Indradeva because she had such great intensity and desire to ask this question to Indradeva that in her dream straight away she went to Swargaloka and she was standing in front of Indradeva. And Indradeva looked at her and said, child, you have some question? Ask me anything you want. So she asked him, why did you deceive Sage Ahilya? Because that's what Janak Baba told us the story. And then story, because she was crying non-stop, how could you deceive Sage Ahilya? So then Indradeva said, it is the role of our devas to test all the sages. So why do we test them? We have already talked about it when we were telling Ansuya's story. They test them to see how strong is their willpower and if there is any imperfections while they are doing tapasya or anything, so that they can perfect that. So he said, this is our role to test them. So this is necessary because when they are doing penance, such great tapasya, we have to test them and see how strong is their willpower. Otherwise, everyone who does the tapasyas, sometimes they are permitted into the great divine realms. And we have to make sure that who is entering the divine realms, they are really suitable for that. So then Indradeva says that, yes, I took the disguise of her husband. And one day I went to Sage Ahilya to test her powers of perception. Can she see through me and find out that I'm not her husband? So that's what he was trying to judge. So then he says that as soon as I entered the cottage, Sage Ahilya looked at me and immediately recognized that I was not her husband. And she came to know I was Indradev. And she said, Indradev, why did you come in the disguise of my husband? So then Indradev said, look, I came to test you, but your perception powers are so great that you could see me, you could see the truth through me. You have passed my test, so I am now taking my leave. So he was happy that Sage Ahilya could straight away see him. But as he was leaving, just then Sage Gautama was returning from his meditation. So he was coming back to the cottage and he saw Indradeva leaving the cottage. And though normally he's such a great wisdom fellow, but see that minute of anger, how it confused him. He saw Indradeva leaving his cottage disguised as himself. And he assumed that his wife has misbehaved with Indradeva because she doesn't know it is Indradeva. She's thinking it is Gautama. So he got very angry. He did not get angry at his wife. He got angry at Indradeva because he cheated on his wife as Gautama. So he wanted to curse Indradeva. But he did not know it was Indradeva. He could only see that someone is dressed like, disguised like me. So the moment he started to curse, and we always know sage's curse cannot be revoked. And that thing, even Ahilya knew very well. So when she saw her husband about to curse Indradeva, she came running and she stood in between Indradeva and Gautama. Because she knew that if her husband curses Indradeva because he doesn't know who he is, that will have terrible consequences for the natural world, because Indradeva looks after the sustenance of natural world. So if anything happened to Indradeva, natural world would suffer. So she stood in between her husband and Indradeva, and because of that, she received the curse. That curse which was aimed at Indradeva was received by Ahilya. Why? Because of the love she had for the nature, because of the love, unconditional love she had for the humanity, she sacrificed, she came and stood in between. So what happened? That curse was taken by Sage Ahilya and she immediately turned into stone-like form and she became a boulder. So, and then Indra said At that time, I came into my original form of Indra, and Indra said, see, great sage, he told to Gautama, see what your anger has done on an innocent woman. She did not do anything wrong. I came here to test you both. Sage Ahalya passed her test. He could see through my disguise. She didn't do anything wrong. But you are not free from anger and doubt. You had doubt. You did not trust your wife. Doesn't matter if I came in your disguise. If you had trust on your wife, you would not be subjected to this anger. Even if you could control your anger, you would not have cursed. So two things went wrong with Sage Gautama. One, he did not trust his wife. Number two, he was not free from anger. See, this is what happens. Bhrigu Maharshi also had this anger, and now we are seeing this anger. And not only this, 3 times we have seen. So we have seen in the case of Bhrigu Maharshi, anger, curse. Then we have seen it in Vishwamitra, who does a lot of penance, but because of his anger, he curses Arundhati that all her sons will die. And now 3rd time we are seeing great sages doing a lot of tapasya, but if they cannot control their basic emotions, see how much havoc they bring to everyone. And now we are seeing it in the form of Sage Gautama. So then he's then he gave Sage Ahalya. Now Indradeva, he was telling the story to Sitama, saying, I gave Sage Ahalya the choice. You can see your husband has got no control on his anger. You come with me to Swargaloka. So he gave 2 choices. You can come with me to Swargaloka. You don't have to be here like a boulder. Or you can stay here in this stone-like form until your husband is free from anger. You know what she chose? She chose this is Sitama telling story to her children. She chose to remain in that boulder form. Why? Because she did not want to go to the celestial realm alone. She wanted her husband to be free from anger, and then they could both have liberation. See how great. She could always say, you know, this husband has no trust in me. He's full of anger. I'm getting an opportunity for my liberation. Let me go to divine realm. Let him suffer. When he comes out of anger, he can follow me. She did not do that. She said, I will happily stay in this boulder form and wait for my husband to be freed from his anger. And then we both will together go towards our liberation. Celestial realm means when you're free from this human chain of birth and death. And then when Indradeva told all this story to Sitama, so then Sitama was asking Indradeva, is there no way out for Sage Ahilya? And then Indradev told Sitama, a remedy will come very soon. So there will be a way out very soon. And with those words, Sitama came out of her dream. And this is what she shared with Love and Kush, who were looking at her with amazement that she went to Indradev and got the actual story out. And then Sitama asked, what did you learn from this story? And then Kush replied that anger was the cause of so much suffering. So one must conquer anger. This is what we just now talked. 3 incidents we have seen. And all these things we are seeing is one must conquer anger. And also, as we said before, trust. Sage Gautama did not trust Sage Ahalya, even though she was such a great lady. So the 2 things that we learned was trust and anger. And then Mata said, without trust, there is no love. And without love, there is no dharma. We always know that love is the basis of dharma. But the basis of love is trust. So trust is very important. If you have trust, then only you can have love. When there you have love, you can have dharma. So love is the basis of all. And Sage Ahalya knew that if Indradev received the curse, what would have happened? The whole of natural world would be disturbed. So she didn't even care for herself. She intervened because she had this love for the world. And so first of all, she took the curse. Why? Because of her unconditional love for the natural world. And not only that, again, love. See, she's a person of love. And then she chose to be in that stone-like form by love for her husband. So this whole story, there is one thing, main thing that is coming out is love, in this case of sage Ahalya and Gautama. So first, because of the love for the world, she took the curse. And then because of her love for her husband, she chose to remain in the stone form till he came out of his spell of anger. Sage Gautama had great knowledge. We always know he had great knowledge about all the realms. But sage Ahalya had great love. And this is what Mata tells again, that knowledge without love is not wisdom. So no matter how much knowledge you have, but if you do not have love, it is not called wisdom. So wisdom means knowledge with love. That is so important. You may have a lot of knowledge, but if you do not have love, there is a lot of probability of misusing that knowledge. Knowledge alone is of no use. Knowledge without love is not wisdom. Great lesson for all of us. So what happened when Sage Gautama saw what he had done to his wife? He was terribly distraught that how much great mistake he has done. And so what he did? He immediately went away to do tapasya. He didn't even care for his wife. He has, what mistake I've done? She's in stone form. Who is going to look after her? He went away straight. He left his helpless wife in there who could not speak. Stone form means she can't move. So she can't move, she can't speak. And this was the second mistake he did. Okay, all that mistakes he has done so far, but this was the additional mistake. He could not even think that his wife needed help or some. Instead, he thought, I've done a mistake, I have to go and correct it. And he chose tapasya over care for the one who had sacrificed so much. This is such a great turn in the story. Then who looked after Sage Ahalya? It was the Devis, all the divine feminine divine powers who kept her alive during this time. Someone had to look after her because she was like stone still because of the curse. Stone still means when the curse means you can't move, you can't talk. But how will she survive? Devis looked after her. This sage Gautama could not even think about it. It took him many years to understand love was the most important thing. And when he understood love is the most important thing, automatically he freed himself from anger and doubt. So he could have been here looking after Mata, looking after Ahilya. He would have understood what love is, and that would have freed him from anger and doubt. So what Mata told children is, so often sages, they go to tapasya. If they want to advance or evolve better, they run to do tapasya. But if only they can open up their hearts to love that is inborn in every particle of this creation, their progress would be so much quicker. Mata says that instead of running to a isolated place doing, if they can just open their hearts to the basic fact of love, the connection, because every cell in this creation has got that love bit in it. If people can understand that, their progress would be so much quicker. And Mata is saying that I'm not saying this that tapasya is not good or not necessary. But if it does not open your heart to love, then it's of no use. It gives you power. Again, Mata is saying it gives you power, but no wisdom. And again, Mata says power without wisdom has caused so many to fall. And we know that. So many examples, Ravana and so many examples we have just said. And then the children said, we also heard this story, Ma, you haven't finished your story. Wasn't it our father who freed Mata Ahilya from the curse? And then Sita Ma said, yes, you are right. It was Sri Ram who freed them both. He freed sage Gautama from his anger and doubt, and he opened his heart to love. And he also freed sage Ahalya from her stone-like life. Whatever curse that she was going through was freed by Sri Ram. And how did he do that? After he touched her feet, the lady could move and speak once again. And her beauty returned and she came back to human life. And so Mata completed the whole story very well. And after the story, when Mata was sitting outside, Soma went to her and Mata said, I always wondered why sage Ahilya, Mata always shares everything with Soma. So she's saying, Sage Ahalya went through so many indignities, so much she had to suffer. Yeah, but Mata says that she underwent that great test out of the love for her husband. She went through all the sufferings for whom? She didn't think it was a suffering. She did it because of the love she had for her husband. So why? So that he could overcome his anger and doubt, and they could both be liberated and go to divine realms together. To this day, Mata says the world, deems her guilty. That's what people are thinking. So many people don't know what happened to Sage Ahilya. So everyone thinks that she is guilty. Those are the stories going out, but no one knows of her great sacrifice. As a result of her suffering, Sage Gautama caused her. He underwent great meditation, but this just did not open his heart. He did great because we know he went away, left his wife in that stone form and went away. But no matter how much tapasya he did, it did not open his heart. It was only when Sri Ram came and freed Sage Ahilya by touching her feet that whose heart opened? Sage Gautama's heart opened. And Mata is saying this to Soma. Soma, do you remember when we heard this story about Ram before he was arriving to Mithila? And Soma said yes, and then Mata said, it was then I recognized that he was the one who had brought me back from my earthly body that day in the forest. Remember when Mata went into meditation, Sri Ram brings her back because she goes into those divine realms, doesn't want to come back, and she's sitting happily in the bliss. And she said to Soma, do you remember that day, Soma, so many years ago? And Mata is saying when she met Ram, her first words to him were ones of gratitude for having freed this sage Ahilya, who was an innocent woman, and she was suffering so much. And so when Sita Ma met Ram for the first time, the first word she said was gratitude to him for freeing sage Ahilya. And then she asked Soma, do you know what he replied, Soma? And Soma was so moved by this story that how Sri Ram freed everyone. So she's listening to Sita Ma, and Sita Ma said, he replied that when he saw her suffering, Sage Ahilya, he didn't even care about who is innocent, or who is guilty. It didn't really matter to Sri Ram. When he saw her suffering, he couldn't care less about the thought of judgment. All he could see was the great love of Sage Ahilya that was locked inside in her stone-like form. That was it. Sage Ahilya was a form of love. And that's all Sri Ram could see, that this love was locked in this stone form. And he knew that he had to unlock that love so that that love could flow in the world once again. And we all know, that is the purpose of Sri Ram and Sita Mata, to unlock the love in our heart so that it can flow back in this world. And Sita Ma says that's why Sri Ram has come to this earth, Soma, to release the love that's within us all. We have locked it inside, like how we have locked our willpower. We have locked our love too. And Sri Ram is the one who is unlocking and bringing all that love. And she says that is what Sri Ram is. And that is the purpose of his being on this earth. And then Soma asked Mata, why must women suffer so much? Because every story that we have talked so far is all about, women suffering in some form or the other. And not only that, Soma says she's seeing her own Mata in the jungles. And then Mata said to her with great love, Soma, I know you're thinking about myself, but like how Sri Ram has come for unlocking the love, that's his life purpose, you should understand my life purpose. I have not come into this earth to be a great queen. You know that. But then Soma says, but you are a queen. She says, yes, I am a queen, but that's not my real purpose. That's like a byproduct. When I took birth, I chose to first know Vasundarama, earth. Sita Ma came out of earth as a baby. So this was her choice because she wanted to know how it felt to come out of Mother Earth's womb. So she said, I chose to take birth in Mother Earth's womb so that I truly know Mother Earth as my mother. That is where the Mother Earth word is coming from. Why it is called Mother Earth? Because Sita Ma came from from Earth. So Earth is mother to her. So she said, I wanted to feel how it is to come out of my mother, so that I would truly know this Earth as my mother. And this is how she set an example to the world, and everyone understands Earth as a mother, so that all would know this Earth as a mother. And this is how people understood understood Earth all the time in the past, like Prithvi Ma. But that knowledge is fading, and hence I choose to revive the knowledge or the memory among people that what you see is just not dirt or just not mud. It is an energy, it's a divine energy. So to get that feeling back to people that Earth is just not Earth, it's Mother Earth. I chose this kind of a birth so that when I relate to this Earth as my mother, I would lead people as an example, because that knowledge of connection with the Earth is fading. And then Mata looked into the distance and she says, I will come again and again into this world, Soma. Sometimes people can see me. So what does it mean? Sometimes I will come in the physical form, like how I have come here. But many times I will come in unseen form. People may not be seeing me. But whatever form I come, Soma, this will be for doing my work quietly to bring that knowledge back. Which knowledge? The knowledge, the love for Mother Earth and all the life. And that is my purpose, she says. This is why I have come. So Sita Ma is finally telling Soma in one line what her purpose of life is. That her purpose of life is to bring back that knowledge quietly among the generations, among the humanity. What knowledge? That love for Mother Earth, nature, all the lives. So that connectivity, that oneness that is there between all of us. So she said, it does not matter. I will do this work quietly. People do not need to know about it. Sita Ma is telling this again and again. The work that I am doing need not be made public. I will do this again and again, again and again. Sometimes I will come in physical forms where I can be seen, sometimes unseen. But in any form I come, I'll be doing my work quietly. So this particular episode, we get to know two things. One, the purpose of Sri Ram coming onto the earth. And second, the purpose of Mata coming back to earth. And as we said, Sri Ram's purpose was to unlock the love and let it flow into this world. And Sita Ma's purpose was to bring that knowledge back. And that knowledge is love for Mother Earth and all that lives. So, such a great way we can conclude today's episode by reminding ourselves of the true purpose of why Sita Ma and Sri Ram had come to our earth realm in their divine form, in that physical form. So with that, my dear friends, I will conclude today's episode. And next time we'll come up with our next episode. Have a great day. Thank you very much.